As we're doing this week, you will hear from Stone Shields later on in today's show as we are getting closer and closer to Bengals training camp getting going. If you want training camp coverage from my guy Stone, then like today's video right now. Speaking of today's show, here's what's coming up on tap for you guys. We'll talk about the Bengals offensive line, where they rank according to PFF and others, a critical year upcoming for Joseph Ossai, and an undrafted free agent wide receiver to maybe just keep your eye on a little bit closely this preseason and training camp. First off, the offensive line conversation, PFF ranking all 32 offensive lines, and they had the Bengals not in a great spot, all the way down there at number 21 overall. So we're pushing that bottom 10 range in the NFL. Here's what, it was written by Zoltan Bade of PFF. Here's what he wrote, the little blurb, if you will, on the Bengals. The Bengals double-dipped at offensive tackle this offseason, signing Trent Brown in free agency and selecting Georgia's Amarius Mims in the first round of the 2024 NFL Draft. But the unit also needs left tackle Orlando Brown Jr. to get back to his old form. The former Chiefs and Ravens offensive lineman earned a career-low 66.1 PFF grade in 2023, which ranked just 45th among offensive tackles. I agree on the Orlando Brown angle. Now, I don't think it was all his fault. I think he will be good in 2024 for a couple reasons. I do think another year of chemistry should help. Offensive line is a stability, consistency, chemistry-based spot. It changed teams a few times. It takes a little bit to get acclimated, especially when your quarterback is also in and out of the lineup and out quite a bit down the stretch. That does negatively impact the team. And as much as PFF tries the individual grades to account for that stuff, it's kind of impossible. Now, I think the offensive adjustments that I think will happen, more under center play action, I think will make life easier on the offensive line. A lot of empty is not easy on the O-line. Now, Burrow's great at it, but it does make things challenging for that particular unit, and you're fine doing it because your offense is so successful overall. I'm also very excited about Amarius Mims. Now, maybe it's not year one, maybe it's more year two. I think he's going to be a focal point of the offensive line for a decade to come. So overall, I think the offensive line is going to get better this year. I think Orlando Brown will play better. I don't think there's going to be any real drop-off from Jordan Williams to Trent Brown / Amarius Mims. I do think we probably should have mentioned the left guard spot. I trust Ted Karras. I trust Alex Kappa. I trust Orlando Brown. I feel okay about the right tackle spot. I thought Cordell Volson took a pretty big step back last year. Hopefully that does not happen, because if there's another step back that doesn't improve, that left guard spot is a shaky spot, and you can't have a liability on your offensive line. That makes it tough against the playoff caliber opponents. So where would you rank the Bengals offensive line in the entire NFL? Obviously, 1 to 32 are your options. Where do they check in for you? Let me know in the comment section of today's show. It is the pinned comment of today's video. So if that ad comes here on the YouTube, it's fine. Take advantage of it. Head down there. Let me know where you rank the Bengals offensive line. As your comments come in, we'll bring in now Stone Shields. Stone, where do you rank the Bengals offensive line?
Yeah, I mean, right now I understand why they're at, the place that PFF has them, because, they've made these adjustments year after year, and it just hasn't clicked for whatever reason. So there's no reason for PFF or anyone really to have belief in them. And I think the onus at this point is on Frank Pollack, right, their offensive line coach, because the ownership and the front office has allocated resources towards this group the past couple of years. Once they realize, we got our franchise guy, we got to protect him. So they've done everything they can on their part, and he's had a lot of different bodies in there. And at this point, it's up to him. If he can, he needs to be able to figure out how he can get these guys to play well together. And, I hate to, put him completely on the hot seat, but if the line plays bad this year, I'm looking at the coach, Frank Pollack.
Who do you trust the most on that offensive line?
That's a good question. I think Ted Karras. I think you kind of see that from the Bengals giving him an extension. They want him to be around. He has full command of that, unit. His communication is great. But I'm also with you. I think, certainly Orlando Brown did not have the year that the Bengals expected of him last year. Mm-hmm. But I have high hopes that he can return to, the form he was playing at in Kansas City. And also, like you, Amarius Mims, I think if he would have played more at Georgia, I don't think he would have been on the board when the Bengals picked. So I think getting him where they did is kind of a steal. And it's only a matter of time before he works his way into the starting lineup, in my opinion.
He's not raw. He's just inexperienced. I will die on that hill. What spot player are you a little bit anxious about, though, when it comes to that O-line?
I think Cordell Volson again. I mean, last year, he was not playing well by any stretch of the imagination, and I think there's a lot of pressure on him this year. And if he has kind of another down year, they might be looking to kind of move, in a different direction in terms of that guard spot. So I think the interior certainly concerns me a little bit. I have a little bit more faith in Kappa. But if I had to pick one guy, I certainly would say that it would be Cordell Volson that concerns me the most.
You'll hear plenty from Stone throughout the season. He is the full-time Bengals breakdown host, but we're down a producer, so it's the only way videos are going to happen if you want them to happen. All right, let's move to Joseph Ossai here. He is entering the final year of his contract. Finally had a fully healthy offseason. It was hoped that the breakout year was going to happen last year, and then it kind of never quite materialized. The coaching staff trying to give him praise. It's now or never for Ossai with the Bengals. Here's what he said on his health, talking to Jay Morrison over at PFF. Quote, "The biggest difference is being mentally stable and being able to see yourself in a position to deal with the things you need to, as far as taking on blocks. You're not thinking about how you're moving or how you feel a pinch, and you're thinking, did the surgery go well? Is everything healed? Am I going to be completely ready?" The defense coordinator, Lou Anarumo, has tried to hype up Ossai in a way that he has clearly not done with Zachary Carter, and I don't think is an accident, and probably tells you how the team feels about Carter versus Ossai. Obviously, DT versus DE, but still. I'm not sure I buy it, though. I wonder how much of that is trying to build a guy up and give him the positive encouragement that he himself kind of said he needed. With that last quote, right? That he needed to have the confidence. Coaching staff identify what the player needs, right? That's their job. This is a massive camp in preseason for him. He has to show that he can be more than just, he's on the roster because we spent a third-round pick on him. I liked him coming out of Texas. I think at times there have been flashes of good play from Joseph Ossai, but it hasn't been consistent. And last year, Cam Sample outplayed him and outsnapped him, out-everythinged him, outproduced him. Now, Sample offers some kick-inside ability that Ossai doesn't really offer, and I don't know how much this team trusts the idea of putting a Hubbard or a Miles Murphy on the inside. And then in that case, you're kind of getting into a situational pass rusher role for Ossai that doesn't have a ton of opportunities to make a big impact unless there's injuries, but you don't want injuries because the top three, I think, can be pretty good this year. So I'm optimistic about Ossai, but I am cautious about it as well. Do you think the young pass rusher will break out in 2024? Why for yes and for no? Go ahead and sound off for me. Where else? But in the comment section of today's show. It's Y or N. Let's spend a bit of time here on potential sleeper at UDFA. That's Cole Burgess. Now, he played at D3 Sunni Courtland. That's the State University of New York. It's, by the way, technically speaking, the Buffalo Bulls, they're also technically Sunni Buffalo. Nobody calls that because it's stupid. Sunni Courtland makes more sense, though. Of note that it's the same school where Bengals offensive coordinator Dan Pitcher went. And given the fact that most teams fall in love with the receiver early on in camp, could Burgess be that guy this year? We'll spend some more time on him, his path to the NFL, but we mentioned Mims earlier. His rookie jersey is available. Chatsports.com/Amarius Mims. That link will be in the comments section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/Amarius Mims. Here's Burgess's journey. Back in 2019, small school Sunni Courtland led the team in receiving. Unfortunately, due to COVID, the 2020 campaign was wiped out. Then in 2021, he was suspended because he made the oopsie of throwing a party during COVID. Turns out universities took that pretty seriously back then, and they had to adjust it from that, and they had to suspend him as a result. So then he comes back in 2022, leads the team in receiving again. In 2023, Sunni Courtland won the D3 national title, thanks in large part to Burgess. He set all kinds of records that season, broke the program records all over the place as the team won the national title. Then as an undrafted free agent, signs with the Cincinnati Bengals, and now will try to push for a roster spot, which, if we're being honest, is probably asking for quite a bit there. But the production was awesome. And when you're coming from a small school, the production has to be awesome. Nobody's gambling on the athletic D3 guy that couldn't dominate a bunch of future, I don't know, YouTubers, right? Bengals wide receiver depth chart is in good shape. You have Chase, Higgins, Burton, Jones, Yoshi Voss, and I think Trenton Irwin probably going to be your 6. So if we're being honest here, it is a very difficult path for Burgess to make the 53-man team. Probably asking for too much. Practice squad, though, is very doable for him. That is something he can do, just like Shed Jackson, Lassiter did it in recent seasons. By the way, one minor thing to not overlook, he does offer return value, and that could matter, A, on the practice squad, but also amid all the changes in the kickoff rules. We'll have more Bengals videos for you all season, preseason, training camp, postseason, whatever long, so don't miss out. Hit that sub button at youtube.com/BengalsTV.